Welcome to another exciting episode of Full Circle. I'm your host, as always, Harmon Jr. Please feel free to find me at Harmon Jr. All your favorite social media.
And I'm the other host, your Fradette. Please feel free to find me at Toonmail at all your favorite social media. So today, Steven Universe Future finally re-premiered. We're going to be talking about that, and specifically what we think needs to be covered in the future of Steven Future, because this is it.
This is it. We're running down to the finale. And speaking of finales, we're going to be talking about the Doctor Who finale. Woo! So for all you Whovians? Whovians, I was right the first time. Should have stuck the landing.
Whovenites?
For all you Whovians out there, we'll be talking about it. And I actually educated myself this time, so I think I'm ready.
Yes, but first and foremost, you may have heard there's still lots of buzz happening with the new Batman movie coming out with Robert Pattinson?
I think it's Patterson.
With Edward from Twilight.
I thought you were going to say Edward Scissorhands from
Yeah.
Edward Scissorhands.
So,
I was like, really?
Edward from Edward Scissorhands? No, Johnny Depp is not in this one. It's not the Tim Burton Batman films. We're just going to keep spinning these. So, of course, we're going to be talking about DC's Joker's new girlfriend, Punchline.
Ooh. You know what? I mean, Harley Quinn was thematic, but Punchline's just a little too...
On the nose?
Yeah, just a little bit.
I mean, it's not like they're Punch and Judy. Actually, those are different. Those are minions. Those are actual minions in the DC universe. So, we're talking the actual, in the comic books, what's happening is the Joker, or one of the Jokers. There's a whole plot around this that's hard.
I mean, the current modern day era Joker.
Right, well, no, I was going to talk about, there's a whole, build up to this. The DC's doing an event called the Year of the Villain, and there's an event, especially the Batman Who Laughs, right before this, and Commissioner Gordon is now part of this team of villains, and it's this whole, thing, and there's a new villain called the Designer that's, out to kill all the current villains because their time's come due. And so, at the end of all this, the build up to this is Punchline. And so, the creators of her we haven't actually gotten much about her, so the creators of her have said that she's sleek and smart and sexy and sadistic and the opposite of Harley Quinn. And
I mean, wasn't Harley Quinn all those things?
No, she was mouthy and rebellious and dumped the Joker even though he's a perfectly nice guy. Right, so my opinion here is clearly, it sounds like okay, I don't know the creators, and again, we haven't gotten a lot of who she is, but doesn't it sound like she was just created as another, power male fantasy? She's great. She's perfectly silent and, so sexy. And just...
Oh, yeah, so that's the thing. So, does she rarely talk, or she literally canonically does not talk?
No, she talks. We've seen her rarely talk.
Okay, that's one thing I was still confused about. I'm like...
Yeah.
She only delivers the punchline.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just going to be completely honest. From a design standpoint, I don't even like her. Literally...
She kind of... Okay, in my opinion, she kind of looks like a generic background minion.
Okay, I'm gonna put this. She looks like an alternate costume for a fighting game character where you're like, I don't like this. It looks like the bad color swap. We're like, here's what the character looks like, and we decided to be like, now they wear purple and green.
Street clothes, Mad Moxie. Yeah.
Huh.
A little bit.
It's just okay. From what you're saying, how she's the polar opposite of Harley Quinn. I'm like, one, Harley Quinn was already all those things. Okay, granted, sexy is subjective.
Now,
attractiveness,
right. So,
she was smart. She had a PhD.
That's right. So let's see, PhD in psychology. So I'm guessing this means Punchline has a PhD in sociology. If she's the exact opposite. I guess the other real clear defining trait here is that unlike Harley Quinn, she is a complete literal serial killer. That's why Joker thinks she's the funniest woman he's ever met. She just blatantly is murdering people. More for less reasons than the Joker ever has.
I mean, you already stated this, but my problem with this is going to your power male fantasy thing. Harley Quinn was a developed character. This is just a checkbox of at this point. I mean, is she a minority? She looks kind of Asian to me. So it was just minority, female, sexy.
Joker.
It's like she doesn't have character development. She doesn't have personal traits. She's a checkbox of things.
Right. So let's.
And
Okay.
the fact that she doesn't talk even makes her that much so. It's like, where she really talks, so you just, she's a fact check list. A poorly dressed one at that.
But okay, let's maybe again, we have very little information about her, so maybe let's put a little bit of a positive spin on it. I've seen some people compare her to Lex Luthor's sidekick.
He has a sidekick?
It was, yes. I forget her name. I want to say it's like...
Short answer, yes.
I want to say it's like Melanie Gray.
You mean his secretary?
Yes. Yes.
She's... Okay.
Right, so I think... So I've seen some comparisons trying to compare Punchline to his secretary, Lex Luthor's secretary, where it's like she's going to fulfill a higher and larger role
as time goes on.
As time goes on, she's going to appear more calculated and more intelligent as time goes on. So these would be positives. These would start to help develop her character.
I mean, granted, we are judging a book by its cover and fact checklist, so to speak. I mean, she hasn't had enough time to flourish. There are many characters.
To be fair, I personally, and I'll assume you too, I'm not judging her, the character. I'm judging the intent of the creators with her character.
I mean, yes. I mean, I'll be straightforward and say
maybe I'm splitting hairs there, but in my mind, that's different.
I won't split hairs and say I'm judging her as a character. Like, if I'm looking at a comic book character as their own actual, factual, living, breathing person, I'm not a fan. Granted, there are a list of characters that in time I've grown to love, like Paradox, and we're talking about Steven. But I feel like that was a clear thought in mind with progression, where I feel like this is more like we're throwing stuff at the wall and we're just gonna see if it's gonna stick.
They're just putting something in a Harley shaped hole. Yeah.
I honestly, and it's one of those things like, why did the Joker need a new girlfriend? Like, it's not like him and Harley Quinn. It's not like one can exist without the other. Like, the Joker has done many things sans Harley Quinn.
Which is why it comes back to me that it kind of just feels something forced. Like, people just want the Joker as a power couple. Like, that's just a trope that people want for some reason. I don't know.
And also, I mean, Harley, even sans, like, the movies and, like, her series stuff, she has done many things without the Joker.
It's a great series, just throwing that out there. Haley Coco and the animated series on the DC universe.
It's like, Harley has, like, yes, they're related, but she has done things, like, even in Batman games, like, this is just, I'm Harley, and this is just a Harley ploy. Like, yeah, she might be like, it's for the greater good of Mr. J, but that's only kind of like a knock to be like, hey, yeah, they're still in cahoots, but...
Yeah. Apparently in the next comic issue coming out, Harley will meet Punchline. So we'll get to see... I've heard great reviews about the dialogue and talking lines, actually, in this rendition of Batman. So hopefully we'll see some breakdown here.
Hopefully.
Maybe Harley will psychoanalyze her, as she sometimes does.
Okay. Man, if it ends with, like, Punchline killing Harley, I'm out. I will just be... The Punchline boat would just be half sunk to me, like, forever, and we're just gonna leave it at that.
It just ruins canon for you?
Yeah.
So, speaking of overanalyzing and canon, Doctor Who, the season finale has finally debuted, and so several people online have screamed, canon issues, which, okay, just because you don't understand how something fits into the story doesn't mean it breaks canon. Just because it raises questions doesn't mean it breaks canon. Breaking canon would literally be like, I don't know, the Doctor grabbing a gun and just shooting people. The Doctor doesn't do that. So I'm going to try and answer.
So,
Yeah.
So, usually we talk about Doctor Who. It's just me being confused about what's going on. So, this time...
Just nodding. Mm-hmm.
Yes. I actually prepared questions. So, as someone who is a new Doctor Who watcher, I don't know if I'm a fan yet.
You're new to Who.
New to Who.
That's how we say it, yeah.
As someone who's new to Who and been keeping up, I'm like, I actually prepared questions for Jared to answer. And these are probably common questions that people who are new to Who ask, and maybe these will ask some of the internet questions. So, I know a little something about... So, only I know the Doctor can enter the TARDIS, or Doctor's companions, or I guess Doctor's mental acceptance they can. Mm-hmm. So, how are the Jadoon able to enter the TARDIS in the finale?
So, I'm going to give a cheeky answer. I'm going to assume that the Division, who hired the Jadoon to capture the Doctor, were able to, since they're Time Lords, are able to give the encryption key to the Doctor's TARDIS. However, I think the actual simpler answer is she forgot to put the shields up. We've seen this several times.
Oh, so this hadn't happened. This happened before, where bad guys just walked in.
Oh yeah, I mean, bad guys have teleported in. The Doctor has crashed into the Titanic. Not that Titanic, the space Titanic. I'm not kidding.
Wait, so why don't you just leave the shield up all the time?
Sometimes you need to do maintenance. Sometimes you need to get in. Sometimes you're
plot reasons. Gotcha.
Yep.
All right. So I didn't know this.
Uh-huh.
Like I didn't know this was a thing,
Uh-huh.
but apparently it's a thing. So the Doctor isn't half human on that mother side. I thought they were all Time Lord, but apparently their parentage came into question, and I was just like, wait, what?
Right. So this occurred during the 8th Paul McGann's movie, the movie in the 90s. So that was always something that was, I never liked this piece of canon to begin with, where he claimed to be half human, and then the Master actually corroborated this independently, that he was half human. I don't know. It always felt kind of weak and questionable, but I'm going to come back to that with a different question.
All right, we talked about this before on the show, but one of my sci-fi tropes I hate is why always the greatest would ever. We're human. Why? Like I get it because
we're adaptable.
Because our self-absorbedness, but I just always hate that trope where it's like at the end and it's just like, and the original credits of the universe were humans. It's like. Because it never feels like rewarding. It's never like a shocking.
It doesn't land like it's supposed to.
Yeah, it's just kind of like, well, okay. Then why are we so backwards?
So we existed 14 trillion years ago, and then we
enlightened the whole universe,
now and then we're back to this,
and then shot ourselves in the foot and regressed. But now, anyway, that's neither here nor there. All right, so this next one.
Okay.
If the Doctor is not Gallifreyan, correct?
Correct.
He's not. Then why does he look like the Gallifreyan?
Why do you look Gallifreyan?
You know what? I'm going to say this is another, because Gallifreyans look like humans. So I'm going to chalk this into the humans are the best things ever. We all look like humans, but yeah.
Okay, so there's numerous points to take away here. I'm going to try and sum it up quickly. And actually, I'm going to piggyback off the last question about being half human. So we've seen previously Tom Baker, the Fourth Doctor's companion, also Time Lady, Time Lord Romana, when she regenerated to Romana 2, she went through a whole cycle, and one of her regenerations was distinctively blue and very alien looking. So I'm thinking, so we've previously canonically established before that regeneration doesn't guarantee that you're going to look physiologically, biologically Gallifreyan, or whatever race the Doctor actually is. So possibly during a regeneration, Paul McGann became half human, and then during his next regeneration, full Gallifreyan.
Wait, so regeneration can change your species?
Well, that's what I'm positing here, because we've seen Romana 2 briefly be something completely different, and also the Ninth Doctor said like regeneration's kind of a crapshoot. I could have 2 heads or no head, or so I'm saying the new finale has expanded what regeneration is to us, in that it doesn't limit you to just rejuvenating just your body.
It's opened our mind.
It's opened, yes.
All right. So now that we know where Ruth is in the regeneration cycle, why does her TARDIS look like a police box?
So so this I kind of hit on this at the beginning of the season, right? So I'm saying that she's. I think Ruth takes place actually right before Hartnell in the sequence of events, and so
right before the first Doctor.
Right before the first Doctor, because I think as part of the division, part of this clandestine, time-altering organization within the Time Lords, they had to report for regularly scheduled, this is all my theory, they all had to report
Jared's theory.
for regularly scheduled mind wipes, because it's easier to just wipe your mind than try and hide secrets, right? And so I think Ruth was finally tired of doing this, and so we see her go fugitive Doctor. And so they hunt her down. And so she clearly, she had the TARDIS, she was familiar with it, right? And so they captured her, wiped her, made them a child, and then wiped the TARDIS too. So I'm saying, what was the question? Like, why specifically? I'm saying, so building up to this then, so when the first Doctor was finally of age to take things, he was psychically and dragging, the last thing he remembered, the last fragments of things he remembered was being called the Doctor and this antique Type 40 TARDIS.
So he didn't choose the name, the Doctor. He remembered he was called the Doctor and chose the name.
Right, and same thing too, he had this connection to, I don't know why, but something about this TARDIS, and so he stole that again. And obviously, because it was already an antique, um, you don't fix up cars that are broken. You clean them up and you keep them in your garage.
You restore them.
You restore, right? So they managed to get it out of the phone booth appearance, but they're not going to fix the chameleon circuit. That's a waste of time and resources. Again, it's old.
Makes sense.
So he took it out for a spin and it immediately broke.
Well, kind of already answered my next question.
Okay.
Oh yeah, we touched on this, which I remembered I'd already asked. But how do you make the Doctor regenerate into a child?
Again, we actually specifically have a canonical instance of this already.
Do we though?
We do.
Okay.
During the 10th Doctor, one of the members of the family, Levine, looked directly into the heart of the TARDIS, and being exposed to that energy turned her back into an egg, completely wiping all of her memories.
Huh.
So,
why does the heart of the TARDIS do that? Is it just some program to do?
Well, it's untempered time. It's just time, pure time energy.
What is that googly moogly? What is that stuff the Doctor said?
Timey-wimey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So apparently, I thought I was gonna stump you with some of these questions, but now I'm just kind of like
we're just rolling right on.
Yeah, I'm like maybe these questions weren't as hard as I thought they were. I don't know. Maybe actually Whovians were just like, oh. But how is River Song able to regenerate? Which apparently I feel like I'm about to get just a simple answer to make this question not seem.
So as we discover, regeneration is the ability is a genetic ability. So I'm gonna go with a bland answer here. It's genetics. Mutations and miracles happen.
Well, thank you for that non-answer, sir.
Well, okay, I mean, it's a legitimate question, because at the time, Time Lords said that they developed the ability to generate over evolving several thousands of years being exposed to time energy. And so she was conceived in the time vortex, which apparently made... Anywho...
Next time we have our mutant talk about mutant science crossing, just remember you're blasé.
I've never liked. To be fair, I've never liked this weird factoid about River Song. I mean, I've liked her as a character and liked things we could have done with her, but just saying, oh, she can regenerate because of Amy and Rory had sex on the TARDIS feels like always felt like a very weak answer to begin with.
All right. Well. I mean, based off the memory wipey stuff, maybe this isn't true. But why did the Doctor only have 12 generations? Because that was something I thought it was a hard rule. But maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was just something we said.
Okay, so as revealed, the Doctor is the timeless child and has unlimited regeneration. So why, when at the end of Smith, did he think that he had no more regenerations left? And then why did the Time Lords give, quote unquote, Smith more regeneration?
Is this gonna tie into the fact that the Doctor's not Gallifreyan, so that he's not?
Well, this is okay. So this isn't a plot hole, but this definitely needs more elaboration from the storytellers. So in theory, the timeless child, the Doctor, shouldn't have any regeneration limit like the other Time Lords. However, again, if they're doing gene therapy on their own people, they might have done it to the Doctor too. So one, the Doctor might have regeneration limits, actually, or two, and I think Chibnall's intention was to unlimit and unshackle the Doctor. I think they, quote-unquote, gave the Doctor more regenerations to keep up the ruse that he wasn't the timeless child. Because if Smith were to arbitrarily die and come back, he'd be there'd be so many questions.
Is it one of those, the Superman lie? He likes to think himself not as strong as he is to fit in.
Right. Well, I mean, except of course the Doctor didn't even know that he had regenerations. He completely was unaware.
All right. I'm gonna file it in the powers that be lied just to
keep up the lie.
Yeah.
It's compounding lies.
I mean, it'll be an easy exposition way out of that box.
Nevertheless, right, we do need clarification.
All right. Why didn't Clara meet the pre-doctors?
Let me ask you a follow-up question. Why didn't Clara meet the future doctors?
You know what? I'm not in this deep enough to understand your disdain, so we're gonna move on from that.
Wait, I gotta elaborate once more on that though. Okay. I absolutely hated the fact that Clara jumped into the Doctor's timeline and saved him at every point in time. The Great Intelligence, it was the stupidest plot ever. It was just Bad Wolf, but worse. Because, okay, if I make 100,000 clones of myself, and they go out in the world and live their own lives, would I know what they're doing? No. Right? I'm just like, the fact that Clara fell out and we saved one of the Claras, why would she necessarily remember all the other lives?
All
She,
right. So I'm gonna ask you this question.
wait.
No,
I wasn't
all
finished
right,
yet.
all right.
I'm also going to
The stage
tack.
is yours.
But if that still isn't a satisfactory answer for people, I'm going to say, additionally to keeping up the fake lie of the Timeless Child, that the Time Lords were also able to time lock the Doctor's timeline. So right, we've already time locking. You can do that to various things like the Time War and Gallifrey itself are time locked. So I think they specifically did that to the Doctor's timeline. And so when the Master went into the Matrix and started tinkering and hacking it, he broke the time lock, and then that's when we saw Ruth for the first time. Right. So now we're no longer limited to the time we've seen with the Doctor. Now we can go anywhere the Doctor has ever existed, because time locks prevent people from time traveling to those zones.
Is that why Gallifrey will remain destroyed?
I mean, I don't know. That's a question for future writers, if they'll ever rebuild, if there are Time Lords off world.
All right, this isn't a question, but my thing is, I hate anything that involves time travel. But like, oh, our civilization destroyed, so a whole bunch of time travels about with the ability to travel and do things can like.
Well, yeah, okay. So to answer your question, yes. So Gallifrey always had the rule. It was time locked that however long you were gone from the planet, that's how long you have to return from.
Yeah, no,
you aren't allowed to time travel along Gallifrey's timeline. So
yes, I'm just saying, if I'm part of some super time traveling race, I just feel like the destruction of our planet should never happen, unless it was a super ploy with super things.
Well, okay, since you brought this up, there was a long-standing prophecy that the hybrid will stand on the the remains of Gallifrey. And what did we get in the finale? A hybrid of Cybermen and Gallifreyans, the Cybermasters.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right.
Check that box.
Ooh, well. I guess if we kind of touched on this, but where does this leave Valeyard?
Okay, so the Valeyard is clearly, I'll admit, the whole plot hole of created here, because okay, if he existed before the first Doctor, he should have known he had infinite regenerations. If he existed after Jodie Whittaker, he also knows he has infinite regenerations, unless, like I said previously, she really is locked. And again, we need clarification on her regenerations here.
Like, the Jodie Whittaker Doctor specifically is locked, or you mean the Doctors before?
No. Like, I mean, the Doctor, I'm saying, is the Doctor still locked into 12 regenerations, yes or no?
Okay.
That question. So, I mean, we can have some fun here saying maybe this was during one of the time wipes, one of the mind wipes, because we don't know how much time passed from.
Man, you see, this is why I have a problem with like time travel-y whammy things, because it gets to a point where it's just like, I feel like you even trying to say canonical, you would inevitably create something because you have the ultimate X factor of time travel.
Well, it's not so much the time travel is the issue here as it's a plot point that the writers have neglected, and I was fully prepared to let it just die and go away. I actually thought the Valeyard was going to be John Hurt, the War Doctor, but that didn't turn out to not be the case. But then, once again, in the exact right, the Clara timeline Great Intelligence, that's when they brought the Valeyard into New Who. And it just like...
So you're saying if they never brought it to New Who, it would have been A-okay?
Yes. So, that whole Great Intelligence plot, terrible. Sloppy writing. That's the one that disregards all canon.
All right.
Take that.
So, we've talked about the past, present, and the future, but something that is time-locked is the Steven Universe timeline, because...
It's coming to an end.
Yes.
We've got 10 episodes left.
It was cool. We created 2 Steven Universe's timeline, and then we killed them off efficiently, making it the one singular timeline, which that was a fun episode.
What? Oh, right,
yeah.
Right. I accidentally created an alternate timeline.
You know,
I learned to stay true to myself by watching myself die. Wait, what? Pearl?
You know, so, I mean, by that logic, our current Steven isn't the real Steven because he's dead. and Tommy Mushy Goop.
Yes, right.
Yes.
Right.
Fun stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Fun stuff.
So the new episodes aired, and we still do not have questions to burning answers to burning questions. If I only get one thing I need to know before the entire series ends forever, who created the diamonds? That's my one question at this point. I don't care about anything else.
I don't have several. I have questions, but they're more just. I want to like one. Are we gonna get the Lapis Peridot fusion? Like I just want it. Like I'm at the point. Like I would enjoy them to fuse for a reason and fight, but now I'm thinking we might just get the. I don't want to call it the stupid fusion, but it really bothers me when we get a fusion just because like they fuse and they proceed to like not do anything. But since I just want it so bad, I would be okay with it. Like they're just part of the episode. They're not fighting. They're not using quote. They're just existing.
Right.
But unlike Opal, they better get like some actual lines. One, will Connie and Steven legit just go out?
Like on a date?
No, like title.
Oh, you mean like? I think they've already declared that they're boyfriend girlfriend.
Have they?
I believe that was the start of the movie.
I mean, she kissed him on the cheek, but
I believe they're dating. If nothing else, the trailer for this, where I think, okay, so this is a theory by another YouTuber, but I think Steven's gonna try and propose to her. Because there's like on the beach and like romantic stuff happening, and he's in a tuxedo.
Okay, I don't. Okay, they're like 16, right?
I know. I think it's unlikely. I'm not gonna hang my hat on this.
I mean, maybe like a proposed extra be my girlfriend.
First of all, we had plenty of people in high school who got engaged to be married at like after high school graduation. It's not uncommon. It's unusual. It's weird, but it's not impossible.
Okay, so I don't necessarily care about where like the diamonds came from, but my thing is, what is their authority in the universe? Because apparently there's been wars and stuff, and apparently like they were still fighting people, or maybe some people held them off. So like, what are the other races out there? Because we've never seen anything outside of human and diamonds, but there clearly has to be like
we've seen
animals. Animals, yeah. But I mean like sentient functioning society. Like I've always wondered they've had to encounter other races, and
right.
They're still
because you don't go to war on a farm. You go to war with the people.
You don't go to war with animal and plant life. Yeah, you might need to exterminate them, but they don't have the means for war.
Right.
And Yellow was forever fighting wars.
That was her whole deal.
Yeah, so I'm like, I really thought we were gonna get right.
Are there rival space gems?
Yeah, and I really
were their own diamond authority.
That I'm gonna say probably no, because we don't know.
Why not? I'm just throwing things out.
Okay, all right, but my thing is, I really thought one of the repercussions of now that the gems are at peace, another faction was gonna come in and be like, "Gems, we hate you." Little homeworld base. That's my in a space fighter.
Yeah.
For those who are not watching, I want to give you like I was in the turret, and it was like my arms were shaking and pumping out that hot plasma, I guess.
Sure. But yeah. So I feel we're hitting kind of the same thing. Basically, what is the higher purpose of gems overall? Why? I don't know. At least, okay, let me talk a little bit about, though, how this final 10 episodes are going. So far, I like that Steven is no longer completely failing and upset. He's failing, but finally...
It's not a spiral into like, ooh, this is going to be bad.
Right. At least not yet. Also, I think people are finally noticing that he is upset, as weird as that sounds. Or at least, I mean, people know he's upset, but people now, like Connie and Bismuth and Peridot, are willing to, are more active in trying to help Steven.
Well, it's weird because one thing I want to talk about, like, when the Steven started off, the whole thing was like, oh, he's grown, he doesn't need us, self-efficient. But then it really quickly switched into, like...
Flip the script.
Yeah, and so I thought it was just a weird, like... I mean, it makes sense. It wasn't natural, but I just thought, So maybe that's why people, because like their first things were like, oh shit, he's got it. Like
Yeah.
we're trying to get him to need us, but he doesn't need us. So now we're letting him be his own thing. But now,
right? No, I mean it's completely the natural progression of how these kind of relationships go, and it's rocking and rolling, seesawing back and forth, and now we're finally hinting at more of a balance again, which would be nice. Which is why I think it would be nice for Steven to think like, oh, okay, well I can just like be with Connie, I can just be with her. What do humans do? Humans get married. We can just do that. I don't know. Again, it's a wild, wild theory. Yeah. But
I just want Paradox Lapis Fusion. If nothing else, just give me that. And I'm worried, but Adventure Time proved me wrong. Like I don't feel like there's enough time to hit everything that needs to be hit, but maybe there is. And
right.
I have confidence now that you can, with what I assume to be limited episodes, actually come full circle.
Speaking of full circle, I'm Jared Fradette. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Thank you to all our patrons. Remember, you can just join for even $1 a month. Get the audio super early. I don't remember if I introduced myself, so I'll do it one more time. I'm Jared Fradette.
And I'm Harmon Jr. Please follow me at Harmon Jr. And feel free to follow the show at FC Podcast 23 every week, for the most part, Wednesdays at noon.
Have a great week, everybody.